In this week's video we're going to look at through hulls and seacocks. We're going to look at how they can literally fall apart through dezinkification. We've got some pictures from some of our supporters and subscribers. Oh, and controversially, we're going to show you the easy way to take them out. So all you keyboard warriors, stand by. Enjoy the video. Most production boats over the last few years have had brass through hulls and valves fitted, seacocks. Brass is a mixture of metals. It's copper and zinc mainly. Unfortunately, the zinc leaches out over time. It can be 2 years or it can be 9 years like ours, but eventually it leaches out. DZR is the next best thing. The chemical composition of DZR is shown in this table here, but it contains lead, arsenic and tin, as well as a trace of iron and other impurities. It's the next best thing to bronze, and of course bronze, well, you all know that bronze is made primarily of copper and tin. But like DZR, it contains a mixture of other metals as well. Through hulls and valves can also be made of stainless steel, though this is best above the waterline. It performs pretty well under the water as well. Think of your prop shaft or rope cutter. It can suffer from a form of corrosion called crevice corrosion, but that's another matter. And then of course there's fantastic plastic. I would like to use plastic myself, but as yet I haven't seen it well and truly proved, and I've heard things about barnacles scraping the balls inside the valves and making them bad. In my opinion, stainless steel or bronze is the material to use underwater. With the exception of plastic, most valves look the same and ball valves operate in the same way. But here are three. Each one is a different material. Can you tell me which one you think is which? I'll give you a clue. One's stainless, one's brass and one's bronze. Now brass is an alloy, a mixture of metals, as we said before, copper and zinc, and it's the weakest metal to be used in this marine environment. It has a tendency to de-zinc. In other words, the zinc leaches out of it, and this causes it to be weak, leaving just the copper behind. These photos were taken by one of our subscribers, and thank you very much to him for sending them along for this video. But these weren't the only pictures of seacocks and through hulls which were shown to be, well, in less than premium state. You look at these ones from a boat that we know. Water is actually coming through the metal. Yes, the zinc has come out of the brass and the water is coming out through the metal as well as the joints. These valves and the through hulls and elbows as well as the hose tails have now all been changed to bronze. If you have a sail drive, there's one more seacock that you may have forgotten about, and of course this is the one that feeds the engine, if it's not blocked by seashells, that is. So let's have a look at some of the component parts. There's the through hull, which is the threaded part and its external flange, and then there's the nut. Some of these have a separate washer. This one is built in. Now through hulls come in all sorts of sizes and shapes. This one is a strainer type and it also scoops water up as you go forward. These are often recommended for water makers or for engine cooling water. Then there's the earthing ring or bonding ring. These rings go round the bottom of the fitting and allow it to be bonded to other fittings or anodes. Many modern boats don't need these, and of course plastic valves and through hulls means you don't need them at all. Then there's your valve. This is a basic 3/4 ball valve, but there are other types of valves and we'll look at them in a minute. There's also your elbow. No, not your elbow, but your elbow. This is a male-female, but they also come in double female form. Now, it depends on what type of valve and fitting you have as to which one of these you will use. Most through hulls and seacocks have these elbows because they lessen actual depth overall that the fittings will take up. But it's not always the case. We'll take a look at that later. And this is the hose tail, the part that connects to your hose. And remember, all raw water hose tails should have a double hose clamp or jubilee clip, especially below the waterline. And this is a backing plate. This one's made from marine grade ply, a hardwood ply, but they can also be made from plastic. That is GRP, or of course a high density plastic. Not all through hulls require them though. But it doesn't get any easier. Why? Well, in this video all the components are British Standard Pipe Sizes, BSP. But as they say on the TV, other thread sizes are available, and these may be tapered, so make sure you know which type of thread your boat uses. There are plenty of tables on the internet for you to find out what type of thread you're using and what size your through hulls or valves are. In this video we're using a well-known make of approved PTFE tape, and of course a sealant adhesive for placing the through hulls in. We're not sponsored by either of them, by the way. It's also a good idea to have a data sheet on board which tells you what type of fitting is where on your boat and what it does. We've made these up for a couple of our Patreons. Obviously these are a great thing to have for health and safety. It tells everybody where the seacocks are and what they do. Could be part of your safety briefing before you go out with new people on the boat, but that's another matter. You're going to need something to secure the through hull, to stop it turning as you undo the nut, or as you do the nut up if you're replacing one. There are special tools made for this, and some of them are really good. I haven't got one. I use Grandad's screwdriver or a flat piece of metal that's this shape. You could get a machine shop to make them up for you if you wanted to. They'd be quite cheap. So what we could do is we could grind it out with a grinder. David's actually on the other side of it with a big spanner, and it is turning. He's just got this has actually turned once. It did about 3/4 of a turn. If we can't get it off on the inside, we'll tie a grinder to it. Just carefully, gently. I'm sure the keyboard warriors will be going, oh, you shouldn't really do that. But if you do it carefully, it's no problem. I've done loads. So let's talk about grinding out through hulls. If you're not very careful and you try and undo the nut with too much vigour, you can actually damage the hull, either inside or outside. So in this case, we're going to grind them out. I'll show you how we do it. But it must be done slowly and carefully, a little bit at a time. I think somebody's had their home in there, look. This is what you do, take them off. First with the grinder, until the mastic just shows, the seacocks. And then with a flat wheel. This is what they look like beforehand. This is the sink outlet. That piece is inside. Just pulling that one out. You can see this one just starting to break through. See how we're through the bronze, just starting to touch seacocks. That sort of brown cracking is, and then I'll carry on. Unfortunately, Cindy's not here. I can't hold the camera.
and grind at the same time. That's all the replacement parts. Go into the heads. See, we've taken the drawer out. We're under there. That's the two. Those two there that we're going to be replacing. This is all our pump work and everything. Stupid place to put it, but hey ho. And then there's one more back there, which is bronze. We've only just put that in. That's for the water maker. That's for the water maker. So yeah, that one's bunged up. That one don't need to bung up because it's already dried out. But yeah, I've given them a push with a great big spanner. They ain't moving. We're gonna have to grind them off. Well, after a lot of struggling under the sink, I managed to get both of them out. Had to grind them down. They were just not coming out. But I think we caught them at the right time. Well, certainly one of them, we already know it had partially failed. So let's show you what it looked like. Okay, so this is the main toilet outlet. And you see all this pink here? Well, that's copper. That's what brass looks like when the zinc starts to leach out, because brass is an amalgam of copper and zinc, and you can see there at least half, if not more than half, of the thickness of that through hull is de-zinced, and the nut that holds it in. As I was cutting into this, I could see that it was all wrong. Okay, so that one is going to be replaced by that nice big new one there. To say, these are stainless steel. So let's have a look at the other one. Now, this is the one that we had issues with back in Bosborough, and you can see there, as soon as I put a big screwdriver in to try and turn it, it literally split, and that is de-zinced almost all the way through, and you can see where the top broke off at one point. So when we were in Bosborough, I went to slow down the flow of water into the toilet because we've got electric toilet. I turned this valve and it literally broke the top off. So Cindy had to go outside, put a bung in the outside. We then cut this flush, put a new valve on because the old valve had the ends of the thread still in there. So this was on top of that, like that. And we then cut this flush, put the new valve on, turned the valve off, a bit like capping a well. And we've been riding round on that for the last 8 months, 9 months. So that's what will happen if you don't check them regularly, or if you've got brass. And you can see on this one here where I cut through, again, at least 50% of the wear, just catch it in the light, right, 50% of the brass is de-zinkified. So that's them out. Now we just got to put the new ones in. Let's get on with that. Okay, these are all made up. I've got a hose tail to go on there, which is this stainless steel one there, 316. Look, must have been a right pickle when that was put together, because anyway, leave it in all there. That's got to come off there. I've got to put this in a vise to get it off to go on there. But what I've done is, you will see that I have marked with a Sharpie black lines on here, and the black lines are where I want that to face upwards. So this fits in the boat that way, and that black line will face upwards like that. So that will face vertical. That means that this can then be turned without hitting that hose tail. And the same with this one. It's actually going to be round that way. So I want the hose tail to face slightly aft, or 90 degrees to vertical. So that's got a mark on it, mark on it, mark on it. And then outside, it's got a black mark. Now, all I have to do is to put these through the hull in the bedding compound, and then do up the nut and put the PTFE tape on them. I'll do them almost tight, so just past finger tight, and then tomorrow I'll give them a little nudge just to make sure that they are home. Now the problem with doing it that way is that if you're overzealous, what you'll do is break the bond between the bedding compound and the hull, and you don't really want to do that, you know. So it's 6 and 2/3. You can either do them up tight, trust the bedding compound, put your PTFE on and do everything up tight, just let it set for 48 hours, or you can go back and tighten it again. The tightening it again tends to be of good use when you've got a packer like we had on Reflections. Of course, if we're going straight to the hull here, we won't be going onto a packer. It's got a bit windy. That's the next one. See, what we do is we mark up the through hull. So you put in the through hull, make sure it lines up with the elbow and valve the other side, the hose tail, get them in the right place, and then you mark up where it's got to go. And you can be, you know, 10 or 15 degrees either way. Usually not that critical, as long as you're not 180 degrees out of the way or 90 degrees out of the way. Just put a main mark and a secondary mark, and then once they're in, mastic them into place, back nut up, put everything on, let the seeker flex go off, and then Bob's your uncle, finish your art. This is the next one we're going to do. Got a problem inside with that at the moment, in that it's been customised inside with a short through hull and a reduced size hose tail. This one we've just about to do. So this one is ready to be masked up. This one I'm just doing now. Peter's inside, just taping up with PTFE tape the elbows, the valve and the hose tail. Then he'll do the backing nut up. Now he's started on the backing nut. Get everything into the right place, and I mark it outside, then he undoes it. We take this out, put the seeker flex on, put the backing nut back on, then the valves and the elbows and what have you can go in. That's what he's doing now. So that going up. So that's 2, 4, 5, 1 there, 6, 7, 2 the other side, 1 more to do, 8. I thought there was 12, but 2. This one's got 4 that come out here into the same outlet because it's sink and shower, and the big one there is from the 2 sinks. So that's another 4, so that would have been 12. But yeah, we're getting there. Right, put the camera down. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Just starting 4. This one is really difficult. Inside here, let's show you. Hang on. Inside here is a cabinet, and it's not much bigger than the distance between there and there, and it finishes about there, and then there's a sink, so it's almost impossible to get in. Excuse me. Peter's really struggled in there. He managed to get it done. He actually had to have 2 goes of doing it. As you can see, there was 2 marks there. But yeah, it's done now. So just this one last one to do, and then the big one, which I think we might have to get a piece of hose off my boat to do. But we'll see.
And so here's our through holes, all neat and tidy, job done. This is on Impavidus after we'd done the copper coat, but of course that's another story which you've got coming up. So we've gone for stainless steel. We've had no problems with other things that are stainless steel below the waterline. I'm going to try them out. I'm sure that it will be fine. They are completely isolated after all. There's nothing for them to interact with. Now there are some other really good seacocks, and they work in a different way. These are Blake's, in my opinion, one of the best available. We've heard of these going 20 plus years before the bolts need replacing. And of course there's this type. These tend to be used on wooden boats where you can fix them into the actual hull. And then of course there's fantastic plastic. If you've got fantastic plastic, please tell us in the comments what your thoughts are. We'd be really interested to get somebody else's opinion. Now we haven't covered bonding or earth bonding against galvanic corrosion. If enough of you are interested, then I'll do another video on it. Perhaps if you're interested, let us know in the comments. Meanwhile, we've got another 6 or 8 to do on a boat when we get back from the UK where we are now, and that's on Eternity. Of course, David's one of our patrons, and he's coming out on the 15th of May. So, top tips, here you go. I'll let you read through these slowly. There's some good ones here. Hopefully this will be of use to you. It's stuff that we've picked up over the years, either from our own thoughts or from other people's. By all means, if you've got another top tip, then let us know in the comments. We are all about sharing knowledge, as they say. Anyway, I like the carrot one. We've actually used that on another boat. Works really well. Anyway, meanwhile, back in the UK where I am at the moment, you can probably hear there's an engine running in the background, so I have been busy. And if you've enjoyed the video, maybe think about becoming a patron. It really helps us out with making videos. If not, like, subscribe, of course buy us a beer, and share. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget, sail safe. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.